Hello and welcome to a Talmud Israeli production. Today we'll review the highlights of this week's course of Daf Yomi study, Masechet Bava Batra, pages 159 through 165, Kuf Nun Tet through Kuf Samachay. 159. Ben Bechor, a firstborn son. Shemachar chelik bechora b'chayei aviv. He sold the extra portion that would have gone to him as the firstborn son, a Yerusha, an inheritance, that he has yet to receive because his father is still alive, and he sold it off. Umeit b'chayei aviv, but then he died while his father was still alive, so the Bechor never actually possessed the item that he sold. Beno motzi miyad lekochot. Then, when the grandfather is now dead and the father is dead, the grandson, the son of the person who made the sale, is able to extract the sold portion from the purchasers. This seems not entirely fair because, after all, the purchasers are going to lose out on something that they thought was securely theirs, with no reason to think otherwise. And this is an example of a difficult to understand rule in the laws of mamonot, of financial law. 160. Get pashut. If you have a standard document where everything is on one flat surface, the text all appears on one side of the page. Eidav mitocho. The signatures also appear on that side of the page. Mekushar, however, if you have a bound or tied up document, Eidav ma'acharav, then the signatures of the witnesses appear on the flip side. How does a mekushar work? Rashi explains, Kotev shita, you write text on one line, Ubaniach shita chalak, and you leave one line blank. V'koflan, you fold over on the blank line, and then you tie it, you do some stitching. And in this manner, you have a collapsible document that has many folds in it, with the witness's signature appearing on the rear. 161. It is necessary to revert back to the main topic of the document in its final line, which precedes the signatures. My time. Why? Amarav Amram, because we're not allowed to learn anything new from the last line. It has to be a recapitulation of what appeared previously. 162. If the signatures of the witnesses are separated from the body of the document by the amount of empty space of 2 lines, then the document is not kosher. Why? Because stuff could be slipped in there that would contradict the main purpose, main thrust of the document, and it would nullify its effect. We don't want that to happen, but it could happen if you leave too much space, so therefore if you leave too much space, it's not kosher. Shita achat kasher, however, if you leave only one line blank, the document is still kosher. Why is it that 2 lines were afraid of forgery, and so we invalidate the whole thing? It's possible that if you leave one line empty, then a person could make a forgery out of this and insert things that were never supposed to be there. And the Gemara answers, well, Shmami, no, we see from here definitively that we don't learn anything new from the final line. It must be a summation, a recapitulation of the main content of the document, and so we're not worried if there's an empty line. Nothing bad could happen anyway. Kuf Samech Gimel. Amarav. Shtar haba hu ve'edav ala machak kasher. If the content of a document and its witnesses appear over an erased portion of the page, it's kosher. V'im tomar, but if you'll tell me, mochek v'chozer mochek, that it's possible for a person to erase and then erase again, and that the signatures would really be in reference to an earlier iteration of this document on this piece of paper, but the content was erased and new content was replacing it, well, don't worry about that, because there is a visible difference between something which was erased over once and something which was erased over twice. And so if we see there is a discrepancy between the number of erasures for the text of the document relative to the number of erasures in the area of the signatures, we'll know some fraud was being perpetrated here, and we'll reject the shtar. 164. Eino dome zmano shel zeh lizmano shel zeh. there is a difference between the timing, the dating, the calendrical reckoning of a standard document of a get pashut relative to a get mekushar, a tied, a bound document. Pashut, as for a regular one, malach shana, monim lo shana. If a king was in his first year, we reckon it as the first year. If it's his second year, it's his second year. So normal, nothing abnormal, nothing unusual. Mekushar, however, with the bound document, they had a peculiar way of doing things. Malach shana monim lo shtayim. If it was in his first year of his reign, we'll count it as the second year of his reign. Shtayim monim gimel. And if it's the second year, we'll count it as the third year. Why? It's not entirely clear why that would be done, but once it became a standard practice for get mekushar, that was the established law. 165. Kuf Samachay. Amar Rav. So Rav famously said in analyzing human behavior, and we shouldn't assume this is only applying to Jews. This could also apply to humanity at large. Take it whichever way you prefer. But rov begezel, most people steal. Miut barayot, a minority of people commit a sexual violation. But kol lashon hara, and everyone is guilty of evil speech, lashon hara. Now, the Gemara, having heard this, is not bothered by the first two assertions, the assertion concerning gezel, theft, and arayot, intimate relations that are against the rules. What they had a problem was the idea that everybody's guilty of lashon hara. And the Gemara says incredulously, b'lashon hara sal kadaitach, people are really guilty of evil speech. So the Gemara walks it back and says, Ela avak lashon hara, the dust of evil speech. Meaning, some lesser form of the violation is commonplace that hardly anybody could refrain from measure of guilt. Now, in some ways, the Gemara is defeating its own purpose, in the sense that what Rav's point was, everybody is guilty of something, and evil speech is such a casual thing in the eyes of the public that we don't even think we're doing anything wrong, and we cavalierly do it. When the Gemara says, no, actually it's only avak lo shanhara, I guess it's trying to be malamed zchut, to speak favorably about our people, that even though it's commonplace, it's not the worst of the worst behaviors that we're guilty of. Everyone have a great week.